Hello, this is the American Report Card. I'm your host, Terry Burris. As Switzerland is deemed the richest country slated at number one in the world, 5 countries in Africa are the poorest on that list where people make less than $1,000 a year. Those countries are the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Burundi, Central African Republic, Liberia, and Niger. In America, the average poverty rate per state is approximately 13%, which is down 1% since Donald Trump took office. So far, the most part of most Americans are decently comfortable. But if you are poor and you live in America, all you have to do is change your thinking because America itself was designed to pull people who want to be pulled out of poverty. Let's face it. With all of America's troubles and warmongering industrial complex, it's still the greatest place to create economic success and change one's life. That's the biggest reason for people coming to America in the first place. If you have a plan and a will to stay determined through your passion, you'll fall and stumble, but you will eventually get to where you would like to be. That's America. Now, let's take a look at the U.S.'s poorest states. First, New Mexico. New Mexico approximately has a 20% poverty rate. 1 out of every 3 kids live in poverty with a family income of about $46,000 a year. That's about $10,000 less than a national average. New Mexico has to rely on federal subsidies to pay for schools, healthcare, roads, and welfare. It can't collect enough taxes on its own, so the federal government has to pretty much step in annually. Next up, Arkansas. Arkansas has an 18% poverty rate, and families bring in about $43,000 a year. Next up, Kentucky. Kentucky, with families bringing in about $46,000 a year, 1 out of every 5 residents live in poverty, as the unemployment rate is about the national average. Next up, North Carolina. North Carolina has a poverty rate of about 16%. Families bring in about $50,000 annually, but North Carolina is the 10th fastest growing state in America. Many wealthy families are moving to North Carolina because the large number of healthcare and technological jobs are available there. Next up, Georgia. Georgia has a 17% poverty rate. Family earnings are about $52,000 a year. Atlanta is booming in job growth, and the growth is outpacing the state's poor population. Next up, Alabama. Families bring in about $46,000 a year in Alabama, and 1 out of 5 residents live in poverty. Next up, Mississippi. Mississippi is the U.S.'s poorest state. It has a 22% poverty rate. 1 out of 4 families make about $25,000 annually, and the state has a 5% unemployment rate. With 1 out of every 4 residents having not finished high school, it has limited job opportunities, high incarceration rates, and a racial segregation history that has kept this state from progressing faster. Next up, South Carolina. South Carolina has a poverty rate of about 17% and a household rate of less than $50,000 a year. Next up, West Virginia. West Virginia has a poverty rate of about 18%, and families usually bring in about $44,000 a year. Although the unemployment rate isn't as bad, the cost of living is low, and more families can live pretty decently. It's also the only state where death rates exceed birth rates. Next and last on our list is the state of Louisiana, where 19% of the people live in poverty, and families bring in about $46,000 a year. It's the 3rd worst in education, so the state doesn't have the education to support job growth. Although many people rely on the oil and gas industry there, many people still remain poor in that state. That has some of the most beautiful music and scenery in the United States. So overall, coming to America and investing in America is not such a bad idea. This is the American Report Card. I'm Terry Burris.